The first time the Concord of Systems tried a human, the courtroom went quiet in a way that felt unnatural. Not because the human was terrifying, because the charges were small. It went quiet because everyone in the chamber had heard the same thing about humans. And none of them knew which part was true. Some said humans were violent primates who never evolved past their wars. Some said humans were diplomats who could smile their way through a supernovas. Some said humans were a myth made up by old fleets too. Scare young captains, but the human was real. He stood behind a pale energy screen with his hands open, palms forward, like he was showing he had nothing to hide. His name was Elias Ward. A civilian engineer registered to the frontier station Vesta 9. Was not large, he did not roar, he did not glare. He looked tired in the way that only someone who had stayed awake too long to keep other people alive could look tired. The presiding magistrate, a tall being named Carol, leaned toward the microphone and let the translator do its work. Elias Ward, you are accused of sabotage of Concord property, unlawful interference with a military vessel, and the destruction of a sanctioned interdiction. Array, do you understand the charges? Ward nodded once. Yes, the prosecutor. A sleek figure named Dallon rose from his seat with a ceremonial tablet. The Concord will demonstrate that the accused deliberately destroyed the array that prevented a smuggling ship from escaping. This act resulted in the loss of valuable equipment and allowed contraband to pass into a protected sector. The penalty for such action is execution. Translator rendered the last word with clinical clarity. Execution. A ripple moved through the chamber. The observers from dozens of worlds leaned forward. Some of them watched Ward with fascinations. Some watched him with hunger. Ward did not react the way most species reacted to that word. Most species showed fear or defiance. Sore pleading. Ward only breathed out slowly, as if he had been carrying something heavy and had finally set it down. The magistrate lifted a hand. The accused may speak. Ward looked at the prosecutor, then at the magistrate, then at the rows of watching faces. He spoke evenly. I didn't sabotage anything. I broke your array on purpose. Yes, but it wasn't to help smugglers. It was to stop you from killing the people on that ship. The prosecutor's eyes narrowed. At the act. Word nodded. I admit the act. The chamber murmured again. The prosecutor's voice sharpened. And you believe that gives you the right to defy the Concord? Ward's gaze did not harden. It just steady. No, I believe it gives me the responsibility. The prosecutor made a small gesture, and a holoprojector ignited above the central floor. A rotating image appeared, showing the interdiction array, a lattice of metal and energy designed to trap ships in a gravity net. The image shifted to a grainy recording from a patrol cruiser. A small freighter drifted at the edge of the net, its engines stuttering. A Concord warship held position nearby. Weapons ports open. The audio played. Done. Registered vessel. Power down and submit to boarding. The freighter's reply came through static. We have families aboard. We have medical cargo. We are not armed. The patrol captain's voice followed. Cold and board. You are in violation of Concord transit. Lawyer sentences summary. Execution. Ward's face did not change, but his eyes flickered as if something in the recording hurt. The video continued. A bright line of energy formed at the warship's bow. A sudden burst of light tore across the interdiction air. The lattice collapsed like a broken spiderweb. The freighter's engines surged. The ship lurched free and vanished into faster space. The prosecutor turned to the chamber. The accused, stationed as a civilian contractor, used unauthorized access to overload the array's control core. He did so knowing the consequences. He did so to allow criminals to escape. Ward spoke before the magistrate could stop him. They weren't criminals. They were refugees. The prosecutor's tone turned mocking. Refugees are processed through legal channels. Ward's voice stayed quiet. There were no channels, only your guns. The magistrate leaned forward. The Concord does not execute without cause. Ward looked at the magistrate for a long moment. Then he asked a question that made several observers shift uncomfortably. Do you know what the word execute means in human history? The magistrate paused. The translator hesitated, then continued. Ward spoke. It means you take a living person and make them dead because you decided they deserve it. It means you turn law into a weapon and call it justice. In the old days, humans did it a lot. We got very good at it. The chamber was silent. Again the prosecutor scoffed. This is irrelevant. Ward's eyes did not leave the magistrate's. Not irrelevant. Because you think execution is a tool. You think it's clean. You think it keeps order. Humans learned something the hard way. Execution doesn't. Keep order. It keeps fear, and fear always turns into something worse. The magistrate tapped to control. And the audio cut off. The court will hear testimony. The prosecutor called the patrol captain. A rigid officer named Roro stepped forward and swore the oath. The prosecutor asked Captain, "Did the accused have authorization to interfere with the interdiction?" Arino, did his interference allow a vessel to escape? He swies that vessel in violation of Concord Law. Was the vessel ordered to submit as sond? Did the vessel refuse as the prosecutor spread his hands? The facts are clear. The accused is guilty. The penalty is execution. The word landed again. Heavy and final. The magistrate turned toward you. May question the witness. Ward stepped closer to the energy screen. His voice was calm. Captain Rowe. How many life signs were on the Fratero? Blinked. That is not relevant. Ward did not raise his voice in Sorth. Magistrate's gaze sharpened. Answer Rowe hesitated. 112. Ward nodded slowly. How many of those were children? The chamber stirred. Rowe's throat moved. 38. Ward's eyes stayed on the captain. Did you scan for weapons? Yes. Did you detect any? No. Did you scan for contraband? Did you detect any medical compounds in unregistered food stores? Ward Al tilted his head slightly. So no weapons, no explosives, no military cargo, just medicine and food. Draw tightened. They were unregistered. Ward leaned a fraction closer. Captain, when you said summary execution, what exactly were you planning? Todoro's eyes flicked to the prosecutor. The standard procedure. Ward asked again. What exactly? The magistrate's voice came like a blade. Answer Rowe's voice was smaller. Now, we would have destroyed the vessel. Ward nodded once, as if confirming something he already knew. You were going to kill 112 people because their paperwork was wrong. The prosecutor snapped. Objection. The magistrate did not even look at him. Dine. Ward turned his gaze back to Rowe. Captain, do you know what humans do when we see a ship full of children? And medicine. Rowe did not answer. Ward answered for him. We dock. We board. We help hand if we have to arrest someone. We do it without turning the ship into a funeral. The prosecutor rose again. Voice sharp. The Concord is not human. Ward looked at him. Noya not and. That's why you think execution is normal. The prosecutor's eyes flashed. Your species has a long record of violence. Ward not adjesta. Why we recognize it when we see it. The magistrate called the next witness. A station administrator from Vesta 9 named Mira walked in with her hands trembling. She had been the one who signed Ward's contractor papers. She had been the one who watched him work for months. The prosecutor began. Administrator Mira, is the accused a registered engineer? As did he have access to the array's maintenance systems? For calibration, did he have authorization to overload the control core? Oath. Prosecutor smiled. Then he is guilty. Myra's voice cracked. He saved lives. Prosecutor's smile faded. This court does not weigh emotions. Myra swallowed hard. It's not emotion. It's not emotion. It's not emotion. It's not emotion. Did he have authorization to overload the control core? Oath. The prosecutor smiled. Then he is guilty. Myra's filed. Then he is mile. The Myers filed. The Myers flas. The Myers flatters. Math 1 interdiction array costs less than 112 lives. Chamber erupted into murmurs. Several observers exchanged glances. A few looked away as if ashamed. Prosecutor snapped. The Concord's law is not subject to your counting mirrors. Hands clenched. Then your law is broken. The magistrate raised a hand for silence. Ward watched Mira with something like gratitude. But he did not speak. The magistrate turned to Ward. Why did you have the ability to overload the core? Ward answered, because I built part of it. The prosecutor's eyes widened. Slightly. Ward continued. Your engineers didn't understand how human power. Regulators handle surge loads. They asked for help. I gave IT didn't put in a backdoor rye. Put in a safety bypass because I knew someone like Captain Rowe would try to use it as a guillotine. The translator hesitated again on the metaphor, then rendered it in a neutral way. The magistrate's gaze narrow. Do anticipated this outcome. Word no dadiesta. Prosecutor slammed his tablet down. Premeditated sabotage. The magistrate spoke quietly. Premeditated mercy? The chamber fell silent. Again a high observer from a distant system stood. An elder named Oranan's voice was soft but carried the Concord has executed millions over the centuries. It is how order is maintained. Why? Should one human's discomfort matter? Ward looked up at the elder. Because you're not maintaining order, you're maintaining obedience. There's a difference. Or his eyes narrowed. Plain. Ward's voice stayed steady. Order means people follow rules because the rules protect them. Obedience means people follow rules because they're afraid you can build an empire on fear, but you can't build a future on it. The magistrate sat back, silent. The prosecutor sensed the shift and moved quickly. The accused is attempting to moralize. The law is clear. The penalty is execution. The magistrate finally spoke. The law is clear, but law is not always right. A chamber froze. No one expected the magistrate to say that. The prosecutor's voice rose. Magistrate, the Concord's authority depends on consistency. The magistrate's eyes were hard. The Concord's authority depends